they were giving.
All right, go sit down now. We've opened the door here to give us some ventilation, and I think that it might be a little more comfortable. Can everyone hear? Easily? There's a voice area there. Easily. I wonder if you would mind. You know, every speaker is supposed to have a joke prepared, so I found one that didn't have anything to do with nursing. Have you heard about the woman in the little red Fiat? It was a brand new red Fiat, and she drove up to this crossing. And she had to stop because there was a stop sign there. And while she was stopped, it just so happened that the circus had come to town and the elephants were going by. And just as they were going by, the one who was leading them had the whistle in order to get one of them back in line. And every time they heard that whistle, they had been taught to sit on a high red stool. An elephant that sat on a car. And I think that sometimes in nursing, we're very aware of the dance and the problem, but we're somewhat embarrassed to explain how they got there. If someone asked you what depth in nursing was, what would you say? Someone down here said that it implies understanding. What do you mean by understanding? Would someone else like to pick this up, help her out? If someone asks you that, what do you mean by deep nursing care? And we feel that it has something to do with compassion, perhaps, or understanding. What else would you say about it? Now, every one of us.
Well, that's different in the first place, Dr. Stevens. You said some kind of depth in nursing. Now you say, well, 2 days is not away, so I'd be glad to give you my opinion on that.
All right.
I'm afraid to have, established empathy and sympathy and intelligent nursing care and so on. And really meeting patients' needs, whatever they are. And knowing how to meet them and get what you need when you need them.
Meeting the patient's needs. What does this mean? I read this a lot.
If been sick, you know.
What does this mean, to meet the patient's needs?
Well, it covers a great big deal.
It does. What does it mean?
It covers everything from the pavement in front of the hospital till he leaves there.
Till he leaves. What? All right.
Well, from the cradle to grave.
You can instill in the patient that you can give him a lot, help him when he goes on.
What about his hopes? Now, we talk a lot about meeting the patient's needs. What about his hopes? These aren't needs.
Maybe hope and morale.
Do needs have anything to do with illness to you, or are they more in relation to wellness? And I'd like to hear from up in here where there's some public health nurses. talk about patients' needs, but don't you see that we haven't even begun to look at this yet? What do we mean by patients' needs? We've talked about it now here several times.
Caring for the patient, someone who cares.
Compassion.
Yes.
Well, but you know, sometimes there are compassionate people who don't know what to do. You mean something more than this.
Yes. That you can
Uh-huh,
relate to the
okay.
patient.
When you think of needs, you mean his physical needs, his psychological needs, his spiritual needs. They're more into than just meeting the needs of that particular patient.
Well, and you know what? There sometimes is a danger in meeting a need.
That's right.
You know that sometimes we can meet a need that is so great to the patient that it will absolutely imprint that person forever to medicine. And we've been very successful in having people come back to us, haven't we? There's a reason for some of this. We need to know what needs to meet. We need to understand what needs really are. We talk about death in nursing. We throw these words around, comprehensive patient care. I'm glad none of you said that tonight, but we throw these words around. What do we really mean? We're beginning to get at it, I believe, when we really look at the relationship, the interaction between us and this individual who needs us in a helping relationship. And I'd just like to make some comments about wellness. We can be fixated to illness. We can be so fixated to illness that a well person scares us. Anyway, I'm not so sure we know what wellness is. But I have a little definition that thumbnail that I kind of go by, and that is that wellness is spontaneous, exuberant creativity. And the moment that some of us, at any moment, are not spontaneously creative, we are to that extent ill. And you know what this means? This means that there is never any time in our lifetime or in anyone else's that there is not a need for a nurse. A nurse is needed throughout illness and wellness, with the family, with the person wherever he is, whether he's in an agency, whether he's right on the street. And remember something, illness does not begin in the hospital. Illness is not a problem of the hospital. Illness begins in the family and the community and is a problem of the family and the community. And the hospitals, the improvement of hospitals, has been brought about in order to supply supporting services so that individuals can be cared within these houses or these agencies. And when we talk about compassion, understanding, we're talking about the very bridge by which we are able to reach that other individual. Let me give an example, and all of you are so familiar with this kind of thing that it will immediately strike a note. I remember working with this person in the recovery room about 2 years ago now. And her blood pressure was dropping rapidly. And there was an order on her chart which said, a doctor's directive, which said that I could give a certain amount of a vasoconstrictor. But the amount was left up to me. And so I gave her a little splash. And her blood pressure would rise, and then it would begin to fall again. And I'd give her another splat. And it was obvious in 2 or 3 times that she could not be reached with those splats of that vasoconstrictor. Does this make sense? I know it does, because we have all been faced with these kinds of problems. I do not believe that I reached that person in working with her. until I worked with the doctor and we gave her a blood transfusion. Now this is the illness aspect. But the truth is that every day we are working with each other on a peer level. We are working with persons who come to us with maybe small problems, maybe large problems. And we have the same responsibility, and we have not nursed. We have not been a nurse until we have reached them. And I don't care how many magic touches of making beds that we do. I don't care how many magic touches of cleaning up homes that we do. If we have not reached that individual, we haven't nursed. And to me, depth nursing is involved in this interaction between us and this other individual. And you know, one of the most dangerous concepts in nursing today is to relieve all their anxieties. I have never heard of such a dangerous concept. Do you know why? Because sometimes the patient's only defense is are some of those anxieties, and they need to be left with them in order to give them enough turbulence to lift themselves toward wellness. And until we have come to, in our own abilities, the ability to discern the difference between what we can relieve safely and what must not be relieved, we haven't nursed. Because the ultimate, the goal in nursing is to create a climate in such a way that that individual physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially, culturally can move back toward some kind of exuberant spontaneity. And it begins with the power between us and another individual in that interaction, plus tremendous knowledge and the eye to discern the difference between just the obvious and the many multitudes of subtle characteristics in this total situation. I had planned to really work this through with you tonight, and I don't feel right in taking more of your time. But I will say this, that there is an atmosphere in truly creative nursing that gives us joy and is more satisfying than any other profession. And until our students who are in our educational program can catch this joy from us, we have made a mistake. And you see, I think sometimes in our educational programs, and I'm not going to define which ones, because I just think we all are kind of there, you know. We are so determined. We are so determined that students are going to see the realities of nursing that we have forgotten how to provide a climate in which they can see and feel and experience the pleasures of nursing. And I call this the pleasure principle in selecting learning situations. And I don't want to see that spontaneous joy die out of their faces after about 2 years in our educational institution. And it's more than working with illness. It's more than meeting the needs. It's discerning which needs to meet. It's discerning which hopes to support. It's seeing what wellness is and working toward that. And that's what I think depth in nursing is.
one further matter of business. Hate to keep you longer, but this is your last opportunity to make suggestions as a group for the officers to be elected in September.
Well, I make this
I'm
up,
trying
but make
to
it all.
put these on the board, and maybe if you'll just quickly make some suggestions if you have it. You can still do this through your section, but as a group, I thought we would give you an opportunity to make suggestions, and if you will take down the names, tell us. In the 5th District, we need a first vice president elected in September. Are there any suggestions for first vice president?
Jones.
Genevieve Jones is. Others? First vice president. 5th District. Secretary for 5th District. Darcy Wood. Others? Thank you. We need 3 directors. Do you have any suggestions?
Oh.
Directors?
Sister Christian may be re-elected. She was serving an unexpired term. I think maybe if we tell them the ones that are going off. Miss Copeland, Sister Christian, and one other here. Let me see. Honeycutt.
Do you have any suggestions for directors?
Oh, who else do they have? Alice Morgan and who else?
Is Sister Christian still to be, can she be renominated?
That's right. Yes.
I would renominate Sister Christian.
You're suggesting a form.
For the nominating committee.
I suggest his name,
Nan Springstead, director.
I'm getting in there. Mhm.
And we need a chairman of the nominating committee. Any suggestions?
Kate Cochran. I couldn't hear that.
Would you spell it again?
Oh, how far? Fine, thank you.
For the state, we need a vice president.
All right.
Others? Minnie Brown.
All right.
And chairman of the nominating committee. Johnny McDaniel.
Got it. Oh, Lonnie?
Lottie McDaniel. Chairman of the nominating committee.
Still coming.
All right.
State board examiners for nurses for Georgia.
Rosa Crane for. All right.
Baron Rose Crane.
Wait a minute, you already have her for one. Tell her she has her for vice president. She can go for both.
She's for vice president. Any other? Nancy Wood.
She's not a member of the district. Oh, well, yes, you can. That's right. Excuse me. We're on state.
Merle Lott.
I got Merle Knott, and you want Nancy Wooten. All right.
You can still make suggestions through your districts, but if you do, please send them in after the next meeting.
They'll have to have them for the next board meeting. May 1st, we'd like to have them. Did you get anybody for State Board of Examiners?
Yes, that was last.
Oh, they won? You mean after you left
Maryland.
Maryland, after you left Maryland, Rosecrans, that was for your state board? Well, good. Excuse me. All right.
I believe this completes our business. I do appreciate all of you coming and participating. This is the main reason for joining. Attending meetings or
This concludes the meeting, regular meeting, the 5th District, March the 12th. This is a recording of the Executive Board meeting, May 5th, St. Joseph Infirmary.
hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Just pen on the back of your agenda, Lily. Well, somebody have. You may have her. I think it's because we put her things like that.
Ruth Bryan, Miss Tanner, Elizabeth Dixon, Ruth Renee, Rick Christian, Edith Henniker, Virginia Copeland, Sarah Whale, Nancy Mahaffey,
Here.
Claudia Ingram,
Here.
Miss Catherine Curry, Miss Linda Robinson, Martha Davis,
Here.
Rachel Sanders, Emily Dirk, Bethel Open, Laurie Hahn, Julia Cannon, Benny Dixon, Olga Brown, Anna Heston, Lisa Kimball, and Margaret Crawford.
Yeah, take that one on our list, and let me have this one so I can send the minutes to the people who didn't come. We'll just hand it to you, just a minute ago, right on the back of the agenda. Here's some X on it, but just what you want. Sister Victoria to take that away from you. Here's an X one, Carol. Oh, that they done, it didn't know that. But, we don't make the three, we just make Miss Dixon and it's usually the same thing except those others. And I keep it so I can mail the minutes to the people who are not here tonight.
I believe the minutes of the March 10 meeting were circulated. Do I hear a motion that these be approved and filed?
I move that the approved is circulated.
My second.
One direction. Is what vote? Mr. Donovan, last page, number 30, the word
board now, you are,
This is in the
this,
district meeting.
these are the minutes for the district meeting, not the executive board. And, that'll come out in the meeting, so it'll be out tomorrow, next week.
Are there any other questions or suggestions? Those in favor, will please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Motion carries, motion approved. We have some communications here.
Dr. Alfred Lansdowne will always remember with deep gratitude your comforting expressions sensitive. And the family of Mr. Frank Wilson deeply appreciates your kind expressions sensitive. Your district, to the district members gratefully acknowledging and thanking you for your kind expression of sensitive. We sincerely appreciate the beautiful ways you took during this time of the death of our dear sister, also your thoughts and prayers, Esther and Hale Watts. The family of Dr. Frank Miller Atkins forever hold in grateful remembrance your kindness and sensitive.
Do you have a report, Ms. Bishop?
No.
Ms. Report President.
And the total is $12,749.01. And disbursement rent $63.50, salary $388.67, phone $50.89, postage $124, supplies $76.39, American Journal Nursing $52.50, GSMA $7,920, miscellaneous $124.39, total $8,834. That from the receipt leaves $3,948.67. A dinner reservation made for the dinner in the fall had to be returned because the person asked to check some way got in. So that was $350 returned, and that after it was taken off of the $3,948.67 left $3,945.17. And that's what was clear in the bank. Checks out $6,057.78. Agrees with bank statement $10,002.95. Obligations to the government, withholding tax $133.80. Social Security $92.46. Total $226.26. And the state of Georgia withholding tax $5.76, making a total of $232.02. Now the checks are listed as nine, which totaled the, $6,578 that was out. Now that is the district.
I mean, that the district report been placed on, received and placed on file.
That's not it. Any discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Motion carries.
At the Nurses Professional Register Financial Report for March, balance brought forward March the 1st, 1964, $4,990.63. Membership dues and billheads, $5,158.54. Total, $10,149.17. Disbursement salaries, $1,296.63. Rent, $125. Telephone advertising, $48.55. Bryant, Lithography Company, $221.45. Postmaster, which is stamps, $38. Total, $1,729.63. One check was returned due to insufficient funds. It was a part-time, nursing, and it was a Mrs. Thompson, 1750. Clearing the bank agrees with the statement, $8,402.04. Now, outstanding checks to be deducted. District Director, Internal Revenue, $929.70. State Georgia Income Tax, $17.84. Employment, Social Security, $325. Young, Garber and Company Auditor, $325. Miller's Bookstore, $11.03. Fund Insurance, bonding of registers, $10. Total, $1,316.94. The RNs paid up to date is 323. Part-time nurses, 9. Undergraduates, 10. Licensed practical nurses, 96. Total, 438.
I move district register report be received and placed on file.
Is there any discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Motion carries. And we have a report of this hard-working lady, Miss Ashley.
Well, I won't take up the time to tell you that we've had a very heavy schedule. We've been going 8, 10, 12 hours a day, and everything's up to date, except clearing all the papers.
Did you circulate your report?
Yes, I have one.
Oh. Did Miss Hammond give you
No, but I have all of her reports if you want me to tell you about it, because you will have in here, we ran short on these, the clinical sessions on there. We just got these at around noon yesterday and had to get them in the mail, but as you notice, we have clinical sessions that are being sponsored throughout the month of May, and then also there's a little notice in there about your Nurse Day activities, particular on the 12th at the All Saints Church. The time has been changed on that due to the offer. They've asked that we clear the church. So it'll start at 6:30, and all the students will be represented in uniform. There'll be a brief dedication service, and then following that we will have the Nurse of the Year Award ceremony at the Academy of Medicine. I think it's going to be a very interesting program. I hope it'll be colorful. The third Army will have a color guard. Dr. Charles Lester from Emory is the guest speaker. And following the award, the Nurse of the Year, there will be a reception. We think that it's going to be a very interesting program, and Ms. Hammett and her committee, all of them, it's been a joint participation there with Korea and the program committee. Now, on Tuesday, St. Joseph Chorale Group, the group that we heard, will be on Today in Georgia. Miss Ditchfield will be with them on the 12th. We'd sponsored, hope to have others, and I think we will have more before that time, particularly spot announcements and other activities, but we hope to have it covered. I think it's 9 or 9:30. I don't get to hear them. 9
Go to All Saints at 6 o'clock and then leave there
6,
and go to the
6:30 is when your service starts, but the students will be there in uniform from all of the schools. And then at 7:30, it's only 3 blocks away, I believe, the other one will start at the Academy of Medicine. And you will have a reception there. St. Joseph is taking care of that, so we know it'll be nice.
Well, we wondered that at our section meeting last Thursday. We had no information. I couldn't announce a thing. I just said I supposed it would still be at the Academy of Medicine because we hadn't been given any information, and I knew they were going to have some clinical.
Well, we just got the program yesterday, and it isn't complete yet. You will get it just as soon as we can get it completed, because they have been working hard on it. I'm to see Miss Hammett in the morning for completion of it and to have it printed. All of the hospitals were sent the material within a few hours after I received the program. But everybody knows that during the month of May and during Nurse Week that we do have activities of all types, and we've been talking about it for some time. We're sorry you didn't get that
Then all I
information.
could tell them was what came out and saying they were going to have them, but there was no definite dates as to when.
Well, the programs are not
Right.
completed yet. I don't even know the songs they're going to sing or what numbers or how to get it printed up until I see them in the morning. We think we're giving you as much publicity as we can on it, and I hope that, in fact, only one person came on the publicity committee, so I've got to start out in the morning. By Wednesday at noon, we have an article, we hope, in Sunday's paper about it, but all of the hospitals have been sent material. 300 notices went out last night, and if they're not on the bulletin board, it won't be our fault because we gave them the 2 announcements, both this one and the one of the combined services. Anything else anybody want to ask about the program? Well, hope you'll be there. I think there'll be at least 200 or 300 of the students there, and they will be colorful. And the service, the rector of the church, Dr. Ross, or the Reverend Ross, will speak briefly.
You have a report on printing.
Yes, we're going to have a meter, and it should be out tomorrow next day. Glad to say that we'll have one on this time. And, of course, the register had some new statements.
Ms. Nancy, do you have a finance report other than the treasurer?
That just comes in on the program there from all committees.
How about the legislation? Ms. Ditchfield send a report. Membership and credentials, Ms. Davis?
We have 1,033 members with 7 associates, and only 4 applications in now, and they're credentials are not complete, so we haven't had a meeting since our last board meeting. They all got in 1,033 with 7 associates.
The 33 came on our last meeting to get the mark, the state line there on the 31st, and all to get in the direction.
Seven, and 4 to be approved now, as soon as the credentials come in.
And 4 more came today for renewal after the report.
more than we had last year altogether.
I might say that, we are putting in the mail now for all the members who have not paid the dues, have not renewed as of, right now, the 1963, that we're sending out, a little reminder from PSNA to see if that received any, membership activity.
Oh, that's been sent out too from Fifth District to all the
Yes, we sent
delinquent members.
216, and we had a good response. Within 3 days, we had 8 in, and I got 8 again a couple of days ago, and then 4 today, so I think the average on that has been better than usual. May I ask, Ms. Zerb, didn't you get your folder sometime back about the Nurse of the Year award on that, and, did anybody else fail to get that? Because
I called you and asked you.
we sent every member of the board, always, automatically, the sections, the director, everybody on the board, and then we sent them to about 37 directors of hospitals or nursing service. Of course, I don't know what happens to the mail after it leaves. That's one reason we have a post box up there, because we get mail off, in as much as today, I got my state roster from across the hall, 2 in front of the door, and then Mr. Millsack brought me the other one. Frequent mail's in the building. But we did send you out about the Nurse in the Year then, and a cover letter about it. So I'm sorry you didn't get it.
You know, when I called you, I had not received anything then, and I wanted some blank.
Mhm.
All I got this time was the received minutes after that.
I don't think we seen anything other than the minutes on that go round. That was all.
Turn that latch, Mr. Stoner. That's right. Is there a report from the nominating committee?
Ms. Armstrong called me, and we will forward your reports of tonight. All those from the district will be sent a letter and get the geographical sketches, and the names will be forwarded to her. They must be back in the office no later than June the 25th, because then the big list will be compiled for the state as well as the district. They will be notified in letter about that. And we have them from several sections already. We have tonight the one from nursing service. The public health has already sent them in, and she has the report. That's right.
Public relations?
Well, we're working on we spent one whole day in the television stations and to work our programs out, and we got many promises and all. We need to go back. We'll send the spot announcements out. We hope to cover the newspaper tomorrow, and we feel very definite that we'll do all we can on our program.
You've got 2 window displays.
Oh, yes, we have, particularly, now Davidson says his is conditional since they're remodeling, but we know definitely that the one at Lenox Square, I think they have to feature your bird respirator in action, and the Mr. Stansels has promised them they could use the one the Medical Association had. He thought that would be interesting. I talked to Mr. Siegel yesterday, and he is the manager, and he thinks of the display. He thinks that that's what they're going to use.
Do you have anything to report from the careers committee?
Well, they met this afternoon, and the Nurse of the Year has been selected and will be presented with the other nominees. It was the biggest response we've ever had. None of the letters were opened, I want to tell you, and anytime you ever participate anytime with that program, we encourage you to follow directions and send it to careers. Now, any letter that came to 5th District had to be opened because many of them contained checks, renewals, and transfers. But immediately in opening any of those, when I saw that it was a nomination slip, I did not want to know any of the members that were being nominated. And we were going to encourage it, and next year be sure that all of them do say, because There were 638, I believe, the best response we've ever had. I had to go back in on Saturday and send out 500 more. And there were 15 nominees. The letters are beautiful. We wish everybody could read all of them. In fact, I hadn't even read them, but I do know that the participation this time was fine, and they will be notified in the morning, the nominees, to be present for the award ceremony. Oh, one more thing. The motion was made today that these records be kept in the office for 1 year. We naturally will submit her name to the Woman of the Year anyhow, need them in January, and then after the year that they may be given to the person, so she can know all the good things people say about them. And the one person got 300 and some odd, so I know she's going to have quite a nice.
One time reading all the nice things people say about
Into the vacation.
Do you have a report from the Committee on Professional Practice?
No.
Ms. Wade, I don't think they've had any. Is there a report from Mrs. Belts, the Committee on Insurance? Ms. Graves, Committee on Functions of A&A?
No, but there's a series in the American Journal of Nursing. We might encourage you to read that. We had one little notice from A&A to call attention to the editorial, and it's concluded in the present issue there. And it will be, part of that will be presented, I'm sure. Most of it will be presented at the convention.
This is a program.
At this time, we'll hear from Ms. Mace, Study Committee's Registry.
Sister Christine and I have talked on the phone. I came over one time to her office and talked to her. We met at Emory with Miss Gray. She called the hospitals for the group of people that had been meeting about the register committee discussing the problems. And if this meeting was held on Friday at 2 p.m., April the 10th, in a conference room on the 6th floor. And Miss Graves presided this meeting. Sister Christine, Miss Garland, and I met there. And Crawford Long, St. Joseph, Brigham Young Memorial, DeKalb General, and South Fulton, and of course Emory. There were 2 or 3 of the Emory people that were present at the meeting. And Georgia Baptist or Piedmont were the only 2 hospitals that were not represented. And the discussion was just more talking. It was a very nice meeting. Their problems are problems that all hospitals have, and one of the things that we tried to straighten out was about the personal appearance of the private duty nurses. Well, now, we all know, the private duty nurses know it, and all hospitals know it, that many of the private duty nurses do not go dressed as they should in cleanliness and in grooming. So they seem to think, the majority, and I want Sister Christine to correct me on this, Garland, if I'm mistaken, that it should fall on the people of the registrar. But the registrars do not see you people or anyone when they go out. They place the call. And it's up to the hospital that if the private duty nurse doesn't go looking as she should. I never depended on the register to take care of the personal appearance of anyone that came on duty when I was responsible for private duty nurses. Because I just didn't, it had never entered my mind, let me put it that way, to to call the register and blame them. Because some of the nurses that are on the registrar, but they only know from a voice. They do not know them. They wouldn't know them if they walked in the office until they introduced themselves, so they should not be held responsible. But we do feel that that is a problem that hospitals are going to have to help with. And so that was the, was one, I think one of the main issues. And then about selecting the proper person, which with no more private duty nurses than we have, and with all the calls we have, it's almost impossible to do a great deal of selecting. I think they try to do the best they can with who is registered at the time. Now that is one reason why that we thought if we could get our records up again at the register, because someone made the remark to me, a private duty nurse, well, we filled a card out a couple of years ago. But how many lives are the same today as they were 2 years ago? Just take everybody around the table. Time changes all of us, and the things we could do and the things that we can't do. So I think a questionnaire should go out at least once a year or every 18 months, and then discard the one that's there and put in a fresh card of the people, and maybe that would help. And just a little note to a company, I think each of you have. Now, if there's any corrections on the card or on this little letter that any of you people would like to make, we will be glad to change it. But we tried to make it brief and still put over what we are asking for the betterment of the service to the individuals that are working from and out of the register. Now that is the only meeting we've had, and I want Sister Christine to fill in of anything that I have left out or I haven't made clear. I will say it was a very pleasant meeting. In fact, we found ourselves enjoying meeting with the hospital people. Now, are there any questions you want to ask? We'll let Sister Christine answer them, and then I will read the two recommendations we have.
This card, it's hotels or homes. Is this the private duty in homes?
It's private duty.
Hotels?
Private duty. Because some nurses will not go into homes or hotels or things like that. And why waste the time of a registrar calling them if they have it listed that they don't want it? I know I wouldn't mind nursing in a home, but I wouldn't get a nurse in a hotel if it was me. And so I think everybody has a right to state the preference, but I think the preference should be there and not refused at the time the registrar is trying to find somebody to fill a call. So did you have anything to add to the meeting?
I think Miss May said much of the discussion was centered on the selection of the private duty nurse, and I think this card will expedite that for the registry, because why call a nurse if you know that she's not going, for instance, take chest? It would save the registry from making the call. And another thing that they brought up that was news to me, they said that the registry nurse in the past had information to the effect that like for instance, if St. Joseph's placed a call and they had St. Joseph's nurses on the registry, that they would be given priority. And we didn't feel that this should be so. know, and that was the feeling of the group there, and I did not know that this existed. They didn't use St. Joseph's as an example, I think they used Emory, but whatever example you use, I think the nurse that is first on call, has placed the call in, should have the priority. I don't know how the board feels about that, but my feeling was from the group that they felt that it shouldn't be. Now, this card will even help that if the nurse only nurses at her hospital where she graduated from, well, that's different. But suppose she visits 2 or 3 hospitals and Emory nurse will nurse at St. Joseph's and she's the first one on the list, she should be given a case over here. That was the feeling, I think, of the group, and that certainly would be my feeling.
I think Ms. Hudson could help us on that. I think a long time ago, the hospitals did want their own nurses if they were available. Ms. Hudson, don't you think I'm right about that? That was,
Well, actually,
no, pardon.
It goes back to the time when Georgia Baptist started using the professional registry, and the only way that we could do it was that the doctors would have the privilege of requesting the nurses for their cases. And they wanted Georgia Baptist nurses, and we had no alternative. And we did feel that the hospital certainly should participate in the professional registry. And so we, up until, I think it was about 1945, wasn't it, Emily, that they had maintained a register of their own and didn't participate at all in the professional registry, and it was 44, I guess, that we felt that the nurses in the alumni voted to go to the professional registry, and of course we were all delighted that they felt that much pride in their profession and in the professional registry. And so they went, but that was the only way we could go was that the doctor could request Georgia Baptist nurses. That's the only way that we could do it.
They went with the understanding that they would get first calls because they wanted to be loyal to their hospital too, that's the way the membership felt.
And we felt that we felt it was rather a great accomplishment for the alumni to take this step, and we certainly wanted to, even if we had to make some concessions, we were so glad to participate.
But that's staying true now. I mean, that would be like a personal call if the doctor asked for a special news. They still have that privilege now.
Yes.
I'm on with the doctor now, and he tells me that he was told any number of times down to the professional registry that he couldn't request. And I said, well, you can request, and I've told other doctors you can request any time you want to. And he said quite a number of them had been told they couldn't request. They had to take them as they come on the list, and he objected very strongly to that.
Well, you had a clarification from Mr. Jackson within the last 3 years on that any personal call, either from the hospital, the family, or the doctor, was to be honored and then go on.
Well, I certainly feel very strongly about that. This is a free country, and I think a person has just as much right for a doctor to get the nurse if he feels like it's suitable to a particular case as a patient has to have the doctor discharged. So sometimes people have just as much feeling about it.
I think the registry's very good about honoring that. I've never had any difficulty with that.
I'll read the 2 recommendations, but first, that the nursing advisory committee to the register be reactivated immediately, and that they be requested to formulate recommendations to be presented to the executive board on July the 7th for consideration and order that definite plans may be established for the appointment of a registered committee following the annual business meeting of September the 10th. By having, I'll explain this for turning it back at that time, it would put the people that go in for a full year. Otherwise, if they went back in July, half of them would come out in September because it would be considered a year. So if we start, it'll make a full year for the activity of everyone that goes on, and until it's running as rules have it regulated, it will be best and a fair thing, fair to the board that they don't have to go to that much trouble, and fair to the people that are asked to serve. And the second, that the committee be composed of a doctor representing the medical profession, a private duty nurse, and a member of nursing service, the director or her assistant of each local hospital. We are recommending that Ms. Hammett be asked to serve as chairman, Dr. Tully Blaylock or Dr. Carter Davis be asked to represent the medical profession, and that Mrs. Edith Honeycutt
And further be it resolved that 5th District take necessary steps to request American Nurses Association to encourage and assist the present diploma program to meet academic requirements and obtain state and local authority to grant degrees so that there may be an orderly transition towards elevating nursing education programs which will not jeopardize the main source of supply of nursing personnel to meet the critical needs.
While you're thinking how you're going to react to this, Mr. Dixon will give you the reaction of the executive board to this request.
Resolution from the private duty section was referred to this body, and a motion was made and was approved that upon the approval of the district, necessary steps be taken, to have this resolution sent to the president of GSNA for final action by the GSNA executive board. I move the approval of this motion.
I'm sure some of you have some comments to make at this time of discussion.
Madam Chairman, I wonder if it'd be permissible for me to come to the front of the floor to make my comment. Thank you. In the minutes, I am Nan Springstead, a member of 5th District, a member of the Georgia State Nurses Association, a member of the American Nurses Association, a practicing nurse, although I hate to admit it, frankly, for 30 years, and a graduate of an excellent diploma school. I arrived this evening, I have been studying with great intent the resolution upon which we are being asked to vote.
Madam Chairman, may I have something clarified at this point? Are we to vote on the resolution at this time? Was the motion to vote on the resolution at this time, or was the motion to refer this to the GSNA vote? If it was to refer to the GSNA vote, then we'd confine our remarks to the motion to refer and not to the resolution.
Right. The motion to refer, right?
That's right, that's what we're talking about now.
I would still like to speak as we vote on whether or not we want this resolution to go to our state nurses association. I do not bring any answers to you, but I do want to share with you the questions that have been raised in my mind that make it impossible for me to vote to let this resolution go any further, even to the Georgia State Nurses Association. First of all, in regard to the first part of the resolution, that 5th District Georgia State Nurses Association takes the necessary steps to require the National League for Nursing and the F.A. Davis Company to cease and desist printing and circulating this iniquitous propaganda. The question I have that we need to think through is by what method can either the 5th District or the Georgia State Nurses Association legally require the National League for Nursing and the Davis Company to cease and desist from printing anything? I don't know, other than this might mean a legal suit, and as a member of the association, I'm wondering whether we have money or not enough to do this. Secondly, as a member, interested very much in nursing and in the nursing care of people, I question our choice of words in this present resolution. I think that the word iniquitous is a pretty drastic word that I wonder if we could really prove that this was true. And I'm speaking as a member of the 5th District. So much for the first part. In regard to the second part of this resolution, I have jotted down a few notes. One, and again, I ask and state that I do not feel that ANA has the authority to obtain state and local authority to grant degrees, as this resolution reads. Now, actually, the way that degrees, that institutions are given the privilege of granting academic degrees is through state legislation. Most states have laws that say only universities and colleges have the authority to grant academic degrees. This is not true in Georgia, and I might add that personally I'm sorry about this because it affects many things. For example, in Georgia, it is my understanding that we are now granting bachelor's degrees in cosmetology. And this is a fact. We need laws in Georgia that protect the professional status more. Now, if I understand this resolution right, it is suggesting that our national association support the granting of degrees by diploma programs, which I assume have their authority stemming from the hospital. Believe me, I want to make it very clear, I have no quarrel with the diploma program, as I stated before. I am a graduate one and a very proud graduate one. I think they have a great place in our society today. And I know they have had a very great role in preparing nurses. But I am asking, what degree would this be? A bachelor in nursing. Because it is the truth that universities and colleges are the institutions that are by law granted the authority to give Bachelor of Science degrees and Bachelor of Arts degrees. I think then that we have to say, what would a Bachelor of Nursing mean as a degree? It would mean a degree. It would not mean a degree if it was granted by an agency whose main function was to provide service which is needed by the people of our country. It would not mean a degree that would serve as a basic foundation provided the student ever wanted to go on into master's and then doctoral studies. In this report, I references, and very good ones, because it is true the Surgeon General's report shows the needs in our society. But it neglects, as we say, two very important things, that as all of us look at nursing, and believe me, I'm all for all of us who are interested, as we are in nursing, pair of people, in looking at this together. And I think the best place to look is on the local level, all of us together. But several important statements are also made in the SD's report in addition to the ones in here. One is that over the last 10-year period, there has been steady growth in the number of students admitted to baccalaureate programs and associate degree programs. The statement, the figures also show that the number of students admitted to diploma programs is huge. And this is good, because they're going to supply nursing service, but it's remaining stable. Well, this indicates to us that change is occurring, and that it will occur. So much for that. In closing, I would like to say that one other statement is made in the Surgeon General's report, and that is that nursing itself, you and me, needs to study what kind of an educational system we need. I don't think anyone knows right now. And that we also need to study it from the viewpoint of nursing joining the rest of the country in having the profession within an acceptable academic framework. Madam Chairman, I think this about completes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice to hear those thoughts. Is there any further comment or discussion on the motion or any reaction?
Chairman, I would like to speak to something. I agree with Ms. Springstead that the choice of words would probably be better there, where that we take necessary steps to require the National League for Nursing and the F.A. Davis Company to cease and desist printing and circulating this iniquitous propaganda. I agree with her that it would be better to say to request, to amend this, to add at that place where it says require, to request, then that would demoralizing effect and disillusioning effect that this information is having on the students in the Diploma School of Nursing. And we have had a beautiful demonstration of what a student body can do right here this evening. And I'm sure that none of us would wish to create a situation that is going to influence these young women. And it does influence. It is disillusionment. And if there's a great objection to the word in extras there, we might add in the place of that disillusioning propaganda, because it is disillusioning. Now, that's just one thing you can certainly say. And if that's agreeable to add disillusioning, I'll add that.
Chairman, we have three of the executive committee here, which is a majority, we agree.
So then that would carry the two amendments to that, resolve. Now, the next, then, there was a second to the motion, then we'll vote on that, and then I have some further.
Who seconded it?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that due changes be made in the wording of the first, statement, therefore be it resolved to, instead of required, to substitute the word request, instead of iniquitous, the word disillusioning. Do you have any comment about this? Any discussion further? Are you in favor of substituting these words? Please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. And this motion is carried.
Now, I have further remarks.
I'd like to make a comment or two, if I may. I'm concerned also about the word propaganda, since it implies almost possibly the same thing as iniquitous. And I'm also very much concerned about hospitals, stepping into the role of the academic world. It seems to me that the hospitals over the years have improved, and the service that is being now supplied to patients has improved greatly. And I'm concerned that they would, in addition to supplying this tremendous service to people, that they should be burdened with an academic degree of any kind. Because the moment that a degree is offered, this means that that institution must also incorporate within itself other disciplines, so that the hospitals would soon find themselves under this law having to develop liberal arts departments, disciplines, possibly even moving into the professional field, and then they would find themselves with both the service.
Pardon me,
and the
please,
academic
but I
focus.
move from motion of order. I believe this is out of order since the person is not a member of the district talking on this order, on this issue.
Would you repeat that?
Dr. Fields is not a member of the organization.
I can't speak so eloquently, Madam Chairman, as so previously have. The only thing that I would like to say is that I would hate to see an organization or this organization present this kind of a resolution, because actually it's contrary to our democratic way of life in many ways, in that one of the from this district to the board of the Georgia State Nurses Association, where it would be considered very carefully. And if the board approved it would then go to the American Nurses Association. And what we're requesting there, or what is requested there, is that the American Nurses Association encourage and assist the present diploma programs to meet academic requirements. I don't think anybody's going to object to a School of Nursing meeting high academic requirements. And encourage, it doesn't say the American Nurses Association is going to do this, it just says to encourage the schools to do it, to assist the present, to obtain state and local authority to grant degrees. Now, in every state, there are ways in which this is done, and in the state of Georgia, as was said, there is no law definitely set aside and set up that specifies exactly how this shall be done. However, when you get into the educational field, you will find that what is necessary is that if a school wishes to grant a degree of any kind or become an educational institution, it has to have approval from the Board of Education of the state of Georgia. And the Board of Education of the state of Georgia would then require that institution to become and set up as an educational institution and would have to prove it to become worthy before it could grant a degree. And so therefore there would not be danger of saying to the schools of nursing, which are now giving a diploma, now you grant a degree. I don't think that was the intent of this at all, and certainly I don't read that from this resolution.
This,
And,
Ms. Hudson, may I just say that this has been understood by some members of the board to mean this.
Well, it does not.
It's
cannot,
probably not
because under
clear,
the
but the
present-
wording is not clear.
The Board of Education of the state of Georgia is the one to which the school would have to apply for the privilege of operating an educational institution.
Does this apply to professional schools?
Yes, and everything has to be approved by the Board of Education. And incidentally, there is a court order involved before it can be done. So there's not anybody just going to come up by night and get into the business of granting degrees in the state of Georgia, because it's this sacred area is certainly guarded well. But to go on then, if these diploma programs, which are now accredited by the National League for Nursing, have been compared to the criteria which is required for accreditation of colleges, and the accredited diploma schools in the state of Georgia are meeting the college requirements, and in some instances going beyond the college requirements for accreditation.
In other words, the
Diploma programs which are accredited by the National League for Nursing are meeting criteria, accrediting criteria, which is in many cases transcends, and certainly equal, and in many cases transcends the requirements for colleges. And so that is a situation that really is existing at the present time. And if we could move in an orderly fashion, and not just to penalize and destroy an institution which has produced the nurses of this country for more than 50 years and will probably produce them all that, and we can get in, we can talk all night on those things, but to clarify some of those points, I just felt it'd be necessary to mention them tomorrow.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak to the first part of the resolution that, relates to the, recommendation of, that the, National League for Nurses, is requested to change their pattern of, informing their members and other interested people in nursing. I should, feel at a time like this, when all of us are working very hard to give the public that uses our nursing service the very best kind of nursing that we can give, I feel that this may very much interfere with the nursing unity that we are trying to present to the public. I feel that it's a very poor public relations step for two organizations of such magnitude to find this kind of grievance between the two.
Madam Chairman, may I say one more thing? When you're talking about this unity between two organizations, I want to just say that this unity within the one organization, and that is National League for Nursing, because I happen to have attended the, agency meeting for the diploma and associate degree program, and that group went on record as voting to request, again, the National League for Nursing to not, request the National League for Nursing to continue the professional status of the diploma program. And then a month later, or 2 or 3 months later, I attended the agency meeting of the baccalaureate and higher degree. And I said, well, we really need to get together. We're not mad, we're not fighting with anybody, but there's just certain things that we ought to talk out, I think. And I attended the baccalaureate and higher degree, and they voted that be henceforth and forever known that professional status would belong only to the baccalaureate and higher degree program, and would not be accorded to the diploma program. Now, you've got that disunity right in the National League for Nursing. And what I'd like to say is that if we can't do anything else, let's get the National League for Nursing to get the diploma programs and the baccalaureate and higher degree programs to sit down together and talk this thing over. Because there's no use in destroying the confidence in the young women in our schools of nursing and letting them come in here with an idea that they are going to be professional nurses and then have somebody come along here and tell them they're technical. Now, I can't go with that.
Ms. Brown?
Madam Chairman, there are a couple of things about this. There's a lot that's been said, and I'm sure more thought that could be given to it. But I'm in a little conflict as I read the two resolutions, because it seems to me that the first one is saying, that we ask that these people named to stop doing something, because it is, this moves them. And in the next one, we're talking about, changing the pattern so that what they said wasn't like the situation in the first one, or something like that. It seems to me that we have really, a little bit of ambivalence in our approach here, and maybe we're talking, a little about saying, well, what we have is all right, and it's not right to say things like this, bad. And on the other hand, we're saying something else in this next resolution that says, let us also grant degrees. I think that it's not, it's a little incongruous to me at this point. I may, hope some of you know what I'm saying here, in that it's just come to me, but it does seem that it's, a little incongruous. I think, in closing, I'd like to say this, I think there's all the room in the world for all of the best prepared nurses we can get, irrespective of background. And I would like to see every diploma
that enough people are going to meet the nursing people, because I don't see any reason to have conflict between them. We need them all.
Ms. McKee, I wondered if you did have something to say?
Madam President, I quite agree with, all of the statements. I would like to say though that the National League of Nurses, by and large, the standards are that of elevating nursing. The schools, most of the majority of the people who have the employees of the National League for Nursing, a great many of those fine people, just as in ANA, are from the former schools, just as many of us are here. And it is not the objective of the league to in any way, interfere with the fine former schools, because I'm sure they recognize that for many, many years, we're going to be, sending out, people from the former schools. So I think if this rewording that has been suggested is put into effect, it will take away the stigma that's going on. I would be terribly sorry to see this go through MLM.
The amendment was voted on, was it not?
Yes.
Madam President, if all of the, discussion has, gone forward, I suggest that what we're voting on again be read, so much is gone.
Yes, we'll ask
Oh,
the
man, I'm
secretary,
sure I don't remember.
to read again the motion that we are discussing at this time.
The amendment, you want to read the first over?
Read what we're voting.
All right, the amendment that we are voting on. The way that this will read is, therefore, be it resolved that the 5th District Georgia State Nurses Association take the necessary steps to request the National League for Nursing and the F.A. Davis Company to cease and, this, oh,
The motion to refer,
the board motion. Oh.
but they didn't have these words in this, in the, that upon the approval of the district, necessary,
since no action was taken in the board, this was deferred. Action on this that I hold in my hand was deferred. And in the event action was taken on this, then, and only then, is the motion is now being read, was this to be considered. Therefore, as a point of order, I say that the next order of business is to read the first resolution and have it voted on by this.
This is what Ms. Dixon, I believe, started out to do, and someone questioned it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ruth.
this is on page 2.
But, this was asked first, I believe, if you let this request be granted, and then we'll,
Page 2, therefore be it resolved that 5th District Georgia State Nurses Association take the necessary steps to request the National League for Nursing and the F.A. Davis Company to cease and desist printing and circulating the disillusioning propaganda and.
is this what you want, Ms.
Is that what you
What
want?
what you want?
Ms. Carlson, what I'm asking for is, what is it we're voting on? No, I'm not talking about this.
this, this thing.
This has
Chairman,
to go
I
through
would
the-
like to introduce a substitute motion.
This was referred to the district, and you can't look up anything else. And this is referred to the borough. So she would have to, like this going
The only thing we can vote on tonight is the first and second, resolution of the private duty section. And then if this passes, then the board, well,
The
that
board's
doesn't,
done.
well, the
I
board's
think-
done.
I
It's
think
only,
our-
if the board's action is contingent upon what is done with this tonight, isn't that right?
Well, I didn't understand it that way. I thought that some board action had already been taken on this and that
It's
we were.
contingent on this vote here tonight.
Board voted to refer to this side.
That's right.
Oh, well, this is what I said.
That's right. That's the only thing we can do here tonight. Mrs. Jones?
Thank you. Madam Chairman, I would go back to what Ms. Sturts said when she started by saying that this had been considered several years ago. And I would be of the opinion that this is not going to die by a vote either for it or against it at this time. We have in this district 6 schools of nursing. We have in this state a great need for nurses. I think our private duty nurses are probably, they're closely allied to patient care, as are the general duty nurses and the public health nurses and the hospital group, probably more so than some of us who are sitting at desks. I don't think we should overlook the fact that these girls have done some study on it. And I would like to make a substitute motion here, that the district appoint a committee of all of the sections, representation from each of the sections. And as Robert's Rules of Order tells us to do when there's a controversial issue, to have all facets represented. And to study this thing thoroughly. And to report back to this district, either with recommendations or a program of some type, to give us more information. We're talking here about something that has been published by the F.A. Davis Company. And I would like to say, how many here have read whatever it is that the F.A. Davis Company has published? How many have not read what the F.A. Davis Company has published? How many know what they're talking about when they're asking about what the National League for Nursing is publishing? How many don't know what they are? Well, I would further say, how many in this room have your bachelor's degree? And how many don't have? All right, you see, there are many factions and there are many facets to this thing. And we can very easily vote this thing down, no. But whether it's going to stay down is another question. And I would move that the district appoint a committee with representatives from all sections to study this thing thoroughly and report back.
Are you making a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Substitute
then,
motion.
Yes. We've already amended this, changed the word. Now she's making a substitute. Joe is going to change the whole
that we were not progressing, we were moving backwards. They had just had a member of their family in one of our good hospitals, and it is a good hospital because I know. But it was an accident case. They did not see an RN in this man's room. They had nursing aides to wait on the patient, and we got curb service by ticket. Now that is enough to make us all hang our heads and shake. Also, a very good friend of mine, who is a registered professional nurse, was in one of our big department stores in the restroom. Now this has been within a month. There were two ladies discussing their going to the hospital. One said to the other, well, you don't have to worry about services if you just take a box of candy. Well, now, when you can buy good nursing care with a box of candy, that's mighty poor nursing.
Now we have a substitute motion that will take precedence over the original motion, made by Mrs. Jones and seconded by, is this Ms. Potter? Potter. Substitute motion that the district appoint a committee with representation from all sections and functions to study this resolution and faction. Let me cover the factions to study this resolution and report back to the district either by a program or recommendation. Is that correct? Did I read it correct? You've heard the substitute motion. Is there discussion to this?
Interpretation of what is meant by faction.
What is meant by factions, Ms. Jones?
That's very fine. I think by factions, we mean the people who are for this and people who are against it. And there are people here this evening who have spoken for it and people who have spoken against it, and I don't believe it would be too hard to identify who some of those people are.
This therefore be it resolved that this first resolution about.
On both of these,
On both sides.
both resolutions, for the entire paper. Well, Robert's Rules of Order doesn't hesitate to say at all that there are controversial issues, and when controversial issues come up for study, that all persons should be represented on the committee, those who are for it and those who are against it. And unless, if you have a study committee that does not have all factions on it, then it does not do the job that is to be done. Because this is the time for hashing out the pros and cons of it.
Any further comment to this substitute motion?
I would like to make a further comment, Madam Chairman, and that is that this particular resolution has come from the private duty section, which means to me that the private duty section or persons within it have taken this material and studied it. I wonder if the other sections or if any of the other people in this group have taken this material and studied it. And this is going to give an opportunity for all of the cross-section, occupational sections to do that. Thank you.
Ms. Poe?
I think as a member of the executive board, I requested Tuesday night meeting that we have time to review this and discuss it with our section. If you recall, Madam Chairman, the chairman of the private duty section and her membership had no part of this. I do not feel that this substitute motion is in order.
Madam Chairman, that was because we wanted it brought to this meeting first and have some discussion on it. We wanted it talked over. I didn't want it just shut up in the door.
Madam Chairman, I ask that we have further study, not shut up in the door.
You sure did.
I still say the private duty nurses wanted a discussion right here at our open meeting first.
got it.
Well, we've been discussing for an hour now. This, thing,
And I represent a homeschool nursing, and I feel like a little bit like I'm being talked over, and I'm not quite dead yet. I recognize and have recognized for several years that the homeschool nursing have a great many things they need to look at. All education programs in nursing do that. As one person who is a member of the NCC section, I feel that I'm very adequately informed on these publications that were mentioned and many others that are not mentioned. I do not feel that either of these resolutions will be good enough in favor.
what was the last word?
In favor.
Favor?
I move the question.
The question's been called. Will you please vote on the substitute motion? Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. No. This calls for a standing vote, I do believe. Yeah.
Let the back row stand first and then
Those in the, I beg your pardon?
no.
Well, the substitute motion is,
Stand on the substitute because all we're asking for is a study and representation from other members. We understand.
but there are some people who understand it,
But I think we had
that have read the material.
raised our hands, those that had and those that had not.
Well, I'm sorry, I have to, ask for the vote. The question's been called. We can't have any further discussion. Those in favor, would you please stand and remain standing until you're sure you have been counted? Those in favor of the substitute motion.
Law, you got
voting for it.
79.
You are
25.
25.
That's the study.
Those opposed to the substitute motion, please say aye.
Well, we're on to the record. Let's go ahead and do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. I thought maybe we better go on and do it part.
So that was lost. Substitute.
The substitute is, motion is lost, 25 to 56. What is your further pleasure?
Madam Chair,
We have to go back to this, I believe it's what?
Madam Chairman, I would like to move, that these resolutions be referred to the sections for study, and then a report from each section about that to the body of the whole.
How do you think this is unlike the former report?
Well, part of it is, this is the whole section.
This is just a section
This is
study,
the,
and not,
whole
committee.
section, the other committee.
Could we have this in writing?
Oh, yes.
If you all would possibly remember on the Sunday, it's the second, SOS Sunday. And it's still at Red Cross, getting a few more volunteers. So if you all can possibly work Sunday from 11 to 5, please contact Red Cross Nursing Service.
May I say, I'm glad she did that. I made a notation a few minutes ago to tell you about Red Cross involved. Representative isn't here tonight. They said they contacted someone. You is, I'm on the list. Well, did you tell them that the nurses were the first of the professional group to respond wholeheartedly in this effort? And the students responded beautifully.
I was simply announced also that tomorrow is the second regional conference on health quackery at the Atlanta Americana Motel. The Medical Association is sponsoring the Atlanta District of the United States Food and Drug Administration Medical Association. And I'm not sure of whether there's a registration fee, but it starts at 8:30. Open to the public and no registration.
We have a motion that these two resolutions presented by the private duty section be referred to the section for further study and a report be brought back to the 5th district. Is there a second to your motion? Discussion?
When? How long was time?
When do you want this done? When?
2 months.
2 months?
Report back in July.
Report back in July?
No, there won't be a meeting, will it?
No.
Just a program.
July.
No discussion to this motion? Those in favor, please say aye. Contrary, no. Sounds mighty loud to me. I guess we're gonna have to count hands or cover the something.
But I feel that the motion was carried.
I beg your pardon? Let's count it, please. Those in favor,
Carried is what I'm trying to say. There was more voted against it than did for it, and certainly the 56 that voted for the other one's gonna vote for the two.
well, it sounded loud to me, but I wanted to be honest.
I'm
You willing to go?
I decided to say that the motion was lost.
All
But
right.
I would think anyone.
Do we need a count for the record?
Still request to study how he wants to be denied this privilege, was given this consideration. So take that vote back. We can do that. And I think it's something that.
I'm afraid I'll speak.
Stand up and discuss and be able to discuss it. We request to see any vote matter.
All right, those in favor of this second motion, please stand. Please be seated.
We got some more votes.
Oh, my goodness.
Who else? Well, we don't know how many now. There's still lost.
Those opposed, second motion, please stand. Thank you, be seated. And this one is also long. Now we go back to our original motion, and I'm sorry. Do you want to vote on these separately? Or both together? You're confused, what do you think I I'm trying to stay neutral, you know. What we are voting, Miss Mallory? Is there a second? That we vote on the two together. Those in favor of voting on the two together, please say aye. Aye. I believe that's unanimous. Come on, girls and gentlemen. Let's get this thing over. All in favor of these two resolutions recommended by the private duty section, will you please say aye? Aye. Those opposed? No.
All right.
Well, some more exercise.
Come on.
Oh, I don't think it's any use in taking the count on that.
All right, if you are in favor of these two resolutions, will you please stand? Those voting yes. Thank you.
I got 24. I already made it.
Those opposed? Stand.
I'm not even gonna bother to count with you. Okay.
Couldn't be 60. We didn't have a 54.
79.
We have to do 24 here.
Yeah, loud as it'll take it.
Unless somebody voted.
Yes, it makes.
Why don't you mail it in? I have to give you a receipt for it. I'd much rather you mail it in to me. Well, no, you don't do that. You can't do that. That's for renewal. That's for the new person. Let me send you a duplicate. What's your name? I can't even send you. Can't you, Jar? Yeah. I'll do it. Let me send you a duplicate here, because that one won't do. That's for a new person. Person's been out a long time. See, when we need to check on their credentials. I'll send it to you. Can you just grab it?
We can have 54, we have 60.
24 for and 54 against. Is your interest? I counted the people that stood up. This place should have something. Before everybody leaves, that we should honor our guest speaker. I think so. Thank you. Thank you. We're listening, Ms. Hammond will introduce our speaker. Madam President, Leadership again, I have the distinct pleasure to set the second session of our meeting, open meeting for tonight. We were honored at the opening of this session to have the lovely young women of St. Joseph School of Nursing. They certainly inspired us, delivered to us that which was wholesome, good, and we're ready to do it. This speaker is a very outstanding speaker, and her subject will be depth in nursing, and she will approach a subject she developed with us in nursing. She's Dr. Lois Steele, graduate of Baylor School of Nursing, Eton College, University of Washington.